Oh, hello there. This is about attempt, I don't know, 50,000 trying to record this video because I have no attention span or I'm good at the mind things. But anyway, this is Remix, the fork-ish of Blender I've been working on for a while. And there's not much really to talk about, but the main bit is this little thing. If you've got very sharp eyes, in the bottom right-hand corner it says 3.5.0, which means I've ported it from 2.83 to 3.5. Hooray! And I've done that manually instead of componentizing a lot of stuff into add-ons. And also what I've done is I've streamlined it a little bit. I've removed a lot of the features that in real life I didn't actually use and just stripped it back to core features. And I've got some new ideas, some other stuff that might actually be useful compared to some of the stuff I had in before, which I never used to really use. And here's where we're at. So things like the combined properties bar, things like this. The context pie still there. We've got the render settings, which kind of works, I think. Not quite finished. No, this is a bit... No, not really. Doesn't really work. But it'll get there. Scene settings, I think, is broken. Various things are ported over. And, yeah, it's in 3.5 now. And I'm still chipping away at it very slowly. I've not been using Blender for work. So basically, my work, the company I was working at, I had a lot more requirement to do 3D in my day job, which a lot of the time I don't. I've sort of varied how much I have to do. And when I do 3D, with more conviction in my day job, I actually don't use Blender. I use Modo. And I might do some videos on Modo coming up as well. But I still really like Blender. I like both. You can like more than one thing. It's not an either or. Some products are good. A lot of products are good. They can be good in different ways. It's all good, guys. They're just tools. But yeah, this has been ported over. Again, a load of features are missing. And also, as Blender is getting updated so quickly, it's some of the features have been made obsolete, which is always brilliant when that happens. Things like there's no save incremental in here now because in 4.0, which has just gone into alpha, I think, they have incremental saving inside Blender Core now, which is brilliant, which means you have to maintain my crappy code. And another good thing about streamlining a lot of this is what you didn't see in the previous video is the startup time in Remix was bloody horrific. It was awful. This is like a pretty powerful computer, and Remix would probably take about 50 seconds to boot compared to almost instantly for other versions of Blender. So a lot of that redundant stuff has now been removed, and it's just getting stripped back to what are some useful things. And the core of Remix is not about completely redefining the workflow of how you interact with Blender. It's making it more convenient, I guess, and adding more tools and little UI tweaks. And some of the changes are absolutely minuscule, like, for example, this little switch button here for your animation timeline, so you can switch timeline type without having to go into this menu. Really useful, just saves you a little bit of time. The same thing happens inside shading, where you've got things like a little toggle now between world and object and line style, because going to a drop down when you've got lots of space in the menu, just make that a toggle. It's just faster. Little things like that, they're all over the place, and I want to spend more time working on those because really it's not about diverting Blender away from what it's supposed to be or really adding too many tools. It's about making the tools that exist more accessible and building tools that are kind of orphaned off in little menus that you have to just remember the location of into actual workflows. So I'm going to spend more time working on that kind of stuff rather than individual features because it's a better use of time, and also that's the kind of thing where failing any sort of big change in Blender, they aren't going to do. Software, once it's established, they're like these big, heavy ships, right? The more users you have in desktop software, the more you'll upset when you make big wholesale changes to stuff. And Blender's become huge now. It's incredibly popular. And even things that should change won't necessarily always change. There's differences in approach, there's differences in opinion about how things are supposed to be. And not everyone's right. If you have different ideas of what tools are supposed to be, I have my idea, which might appeal to a certain kind of person, and Blender have their idea. But also they've had this established for years at this point. So rocking that boat will just upset users. So some of the stuff, I'm saying work more on the stuff that might never come to Blender, which might mean this stays more useful for longer. And if you're lucky, maybe they will start making some of the features of this redundant. In an ideal world, this just shouldn't exist, but here we are. Anyway, I've waffled enough. One other thing I'm thinking of doing at the moment is, in the last few months, I've started using Octane an awful lot. And there is the Octane version of Blender, and what I'm thinking of is, because of the sort of like target audience for someone, if I were, again, there's no guarantee I'm going to release this. If this gains any traction via these videos or whatever, I'm not really dying to put it out there for people if it's not worth my while doing so, to be honest with you. But if there is enough interest, I will put it out there. But I'm thinking about moving it over, and I probably need to ping Otoy a little message about this, the development company behind Octane, is I probably want to move it over to the Octane variant of Blender, and which integrates all of their stuff. In fact, it just mean that you've got access to a different renderer, or like, let's be honest, a better renderer, I guess, inside Blender. And also it means I can create some features specific to Octane. I've been back in Modo again recently using Octane, because you have to basically use Octane in Modo nowadays. And the integration is actually really lovely, and it's actually nicer than the one in Blender. And I wouldn't mind putting some time in for my personal work, making that integration of Octane a little bit slicker inside Blender as well. That'd be really fun. And it'd just be a good thing to do. So if you want to see this or see any more on this, please ask questions if you want to know any more, or if you have any ideas for things that you'd like to see changed in Blender. I'm talking workflow, I'm not talking features. I'm very emphatically saying I'm not adding really any features at this point now. I'm just either integrating deeper other people's work, with permission of course, and or building workflows around things that aren't too dissimilar to the way you do things by default inside Blender. The idea is not to overtake the Blender experience and make it a different tool. It's about augmenting the Blender experience and making it more usable. So let me know about all the things I've said. If you have watched this video, especially for the 7 minutes I've spent waffling. And that's the end of the video. And have a lovely day. And I'm going to go now. So, bye.